My name is Track Hunter. I am 44 years old, and I work as a wilderness safety coordinator for Virginia State Parks, managing hiking and camping safety throughout the Blue Ridge Mountains, where I've learned that some areas contain large bipedal creatures that demonstrate territorial behavior and will attack humans who venture into their claimed mountain territories during certain seasons. Before we begin, let us know in the comments where you are watching from, please. I've been coordinating Appalachian wilderness safety for 18 years throughout Virginia's mountain regions, specializing in wildlife encounters and emergency response for outdoor enthusiasts who face risks from black bears, venomous snakes, and challenging terrain that can create survival situations in remote mountain environments. This happened last October, while investigating a series of violent encounters at Shenandoah National Park near Luray, where experienced hikers and camping families were reporting attacks by large bipedal creatures that demonstrated intelligence and aggressive territorial behavior beyond normal wildlife interactions. The Blue Ridge Mountains provide extensive wilderness recreation opportunities with over 500 miles of hiking trails. But remote mountain areas also present risks from wildlife encounters that require careful safety management and emergency response coordination throughout the mountainous terrain. Recent incident reports suggested that hikers were encountering creatures that matched descriptions of Bigfoot or Sasquatch, bipedal primates standing 8 to 10 feet tall with muscular builds, and aggressive behavior that seemed specifically designed to drive humans away from certain mountain areas. Around 2 p.m., while conducting safety patrols in remote sections of the Appalachian Trail, I began investigating evidence of large creature activity that immediately distinguished these incidents from normal black bear or other known wildlife encounters. Footprints in muddy trail sections showed bipedal walking patterns with foot measurements exceeding 18 inches in length and stride patterns that indicated creatures much larger and more powerful than normal human hikers or known Appalachian wildlife. The tracks showed deliberate placement and directional movement that suggested intelligent creatures conducting systematic territory patrol rather than random wildlife movement through mountain hiking areas. Around 4 p.m., the Richardson family from Richmond reported a direct encounter with a large bipedal creature that had aggressively confronted them on the White Oak Canyon Trail while they were hiking toward the waterfall viewing areas. According to their account, a creature standing over 9 feet tall with dark hair covering its entire body had emerged from dense forest and blocked their trail access while making threatening vocalizations and aggressive gestures. The creature demonstrated obvious intelligence and territorial behavior, positioning itself to prevent the family from continuing their hike while communicating through sounds and body language that clearly indicated they were unwelcome in its claimed territory. Around 6 p.m., I encountered similar territorial confrontation while investigating the reported sighting area, confirming that large bipedal creatures were actively defending specific mountain territories against human intrusion during hiking and camping activities. A massive creature emerged from forest cover and positioned itself between my location and trail access routes, demonstrating territorial behavior that exceeded normal wildlife encounters and suggested sophisticated understanding of human hiking patterns. The creature made deliberate, threatening displays designed to communicate territorial ownership and to discourage continued human presence in mountain areas it considered exclusively its domain, rather than shared recreational space. Around 8 p.m., the territorial encounters escalated when multiple creatures began coordinated efforts to drive hikers and camping families away from broader areas of the Blue Ridge Mountains through systematic intimidation campaigns. The Martinez family, camping at Big Meadows, reported their campsite being surrounded by several large bipedal creatures that conducted harassment activities throughout the night, creating psychological pressure designed to force evacuation from their established camping area. The creatures demonstrated tactical coordination and understanding of human camping psychology using specific intimidation techniques that would be most effective against families with children during vulnerable overnight camping periods. Around 10 p.m., the territorial defense campaign reached maximum intensity when creatures began physical attacks on hikers who refused to evacuate from claimed territories, despite clear warnings and intimidation efforts. David Chen, hiking alone on the Old Rag Mountain Trail, reported being physically assaulted by a large bipedal creature that threw rocks, pushed him to the ground, and created injuries requiring emergency medical treatment during what appeared to be territorial enforcement. The physical attacks showed restraint and intelligence. Creatures were using force sufficient to injure and intimidate, but seemed deliberately avoiding life, threatening violence that might attract extensive law enforcement or wildlife management response. Around midnight, I realized that the Bigfoot territorial attacks were part of systematic seasonal behavior designed to restrict human access to specific mountain areas during periods when creature activities required privacy and protection from human observation. Using emergency protocols developed for dangerous wildlife encounters, I began coordinating with Virginia State Police and Park Service emergency response teams to address territorial attacks that exceeded normal wildlife management capabilities. The creatures continued their territorial defense campaign, but showed decreased aggression when human presence was reduced in claimed areas, suggesting their primary goal was territory protection rather than general hostility toward humans. Investigation revealed that Bigfoot territorial attacks had been documented throughout Appalachian Mountain regions for decades, with consistent patterns of seasonal territorial defense that specifically targeted human recreational activities during certain periods. Traditional knowledge from local Appalachian communities included understanding that mountain areas contained large creatures that claimed territorial rights and that required respectful coexistence rather than unrestricted recreational access during territorial seasons. According to traditional teachings, successful mountain recreation required awareness of creature territorial boundaries and seasonal behavior patterns that weren't included in standard wilderness safety education or park management protocols. I continue coordinating Appalachian wilderness safety because mountain recreation provides essential outdoor experiences, but I now include Bigfoot territorial encounter protocols and hiking safety procedures and maintain enhanced emergency response for creature attack scenarios. Current wilderness safety procedures include seasonal territory awareness that educates hikers about creature territorial boundaries, enhanced emergency communication systems for territorial attack situations, and modified trail access during periods when territorial defense behavior is documented. Some Bigfoot populations in Appalachian Mountains maintain territorial claims that require seasonal restrictions on human recreational activities and will use aggressive attacks to defend claimed territories against hiking and camping families who violate territorial boundaries during protected periods. My name is Cabin Guard. I am 42 years old, and I work as a remote property security coordinator for vacation rental companies throughout the Appalachian Mountains, managing safety protocols for isolated cabins, where I've learned that some black bear attacks aren't motivated by food, but by supernatural intelligence that views cabin occupation as territorial violation requiring lethal response. I've been coordinating mountain cabin security for 15 years throughout Virginia, West Virginia, and North Carolina mountain regions, specializing in wildlife management and emergency response for vacation properties, located in remote areas where bear encounters can create life-threatening situations for unprepared visitors. This happened last August while investigating a series of violent bear attacks at mountain cabin rentals near Asheville, North Carolina, where families vacationing in isolated properties were being systematically attacked by black bears that demonstrated behavior exceeding normal wildlife aggression patterns. The Appalachian Mountain region contains significant black bear populations with adult males weighing up to 600 pounds. But bear attacks on humans are typically food-motivated and defensive rather than predatory, making the cabin attack pattern highly unusual for normal bear behavior. Mountain cabin rentals provide popular vacation experiences for families seeking wilderness solitude and outdoor recreation. But remote locations also create vulnerabilities when dangerous wildlife encounters occur miles from emergency response capabilities. Around 6 p.m., while conducting security inspections at the Blue Ridge Cabin near Mount Mitchell, I began investigating evidence of bear activity that immediately distinguished these incidents from normal wildlife encounters around mountain vacation properties. Damage to cabin exteriors showed deliberate destruction patterns that seemed designed to create access for systematic interior invasion, rather than random foraging behavior typical of bears seeking food sources around human habitation. The bear damage included structural attacks on doors, windows, and walls that demonstrated problem-solving intelligence and persistence beyond normal wildlife capabilities, suggesting bears with supernatural intelligence and malicious intent. Around 8 p.m., the Thompson family from Atlanta reported a direct bear attack at their vacation cabin that had escalated far beyond normal wildlife encounters and had created life-threatening situations requiring emergency evacuation. According to their account, a large black bear had systematically attacked their cabin throughout evening hours, breaking windows and attempting to force entry while the family barricaded themselves inside their vacation rental property. The bear demonstrated obvious intelligence about human behavior and cabin construction, using specific attack methods designed to overcome security measures and create maximum terror for cabin occupants during their mountain vacation. Around 10 p.m., while responding to the Thompson emergency call, I encountered similar bear attack behavior that confirmed vacation cabin families were facing wildlife threats that exceeded normal bear management and required enhanced emergency response protocols. A massive black bear was conducting systematic assault on cabin defenses using tools and environmental features to enhance its attack capabilities while demonstrating planning and intelligence that exceeded normal wildlife behavior. The bear showed no interest in food sources and seemed specifically focused on attacking human occupants rather than foraging for typical bear attractants around mountain cabin properties. Around midnight, the bear attacks escalated when multiple bears began coordinated assaults on different cabin rentals throughout the region, creating simultaneous emergency situations that challenged normal wildlife management and emergency response capabilities. The Martinez family at Grandfather Mountain reported their cabin being surrounded by 3 large black bears that were working together with tactical coordination to force entry and attack cabin occupants during their family mountain vacation. The coordinated bear behavior demonstrated communication and planning capabilities that exceeded normal wildlife pack hunting and suggested supernatural intelligence directing systematic attacks on mountain cabin rental properties. Around 2 a.m., bear attacks reached maximum intensity when families reported bears gaining entry to cabin interiors and conducting deliberate stalking and harassment campaigns designed to terrorize cabin occupants rather than simply seeking food or defending territory. The Johnson family barricaded in their Boone area. Cabin described bears that had broken inside and were conducting room searches while making threatening vocalizations that seemed designed to create maximum psychological terror during family vacation experiences. Most disturbing was that attacking bears seemed to understand human family dynamics and were using specific intimidation techniques that targeted children and created panic conditions that prevented coordinated defensive responses. Around 4 a.m., using emergency protocols developed for dangerous wildlife encounters, I coordinated with North Carolina Wildlife Resources and emergency medical services to provide assistance for multiple cabin families experiencing simultaneous bear attacks. Emergency response teams encountered bears that actively interfered with rescue operations, demonstrating intelligence about emergency procedures and using tactical methods to prevent assistance from reaching attacked cabin families. The bear interference with rescue operations confirmed that attacking bears possessed supernatural intelligence and were conducting organized assault campaigns against mountain cabin rental activities rather than exhibiting normal wildlife behavior. Investigation revealed that systematic bear attacks on mountain cabins had been documented throughout Appalachian regions for decades, with patterns of intelligent bear behavior that specifically targeted human vacation activities in remote mountain properties. Traditional knowledge from Appalachian Mountain communities included understanding that certain bears possessed supernatural intelligence and viewed cabin occupation as territorial violation that required lethal response through systematic attack campaigns. According to traditional teachings, mountain bears that develop supernatural capabilities would target human habitation in remote areas and would use enhanced intelligence to conduct coordinated attacks that exceeded normal wildlife management strategies. I continue coordinating mountain cabin security because wilderness vacation experiences provide important family recreation and economic benefits for mountain communities. But I now include supernatural bear attack protocols in cabin safety procedures. Current cabin security procedures include enhanced bear deterrent systems designed for supernatural intelligence encounters, emergency evacuation protocols for coordinated bear attacks, and wildlife management strategies adapted for bears with enhanced cognitive capabilities. Some black bears in Appalachian Mountains possess supernatural intelligence that enables coordinated attacks on mountain cabin rental properties through systematic assault campaigns designed to eliminate human vacation activities from claimed territorial areas using lethal force against cabin occupants. My name is Hollow Escape. I am 39 years old, and I work as an emergency evacuation coordinator for rural counties throughout Appalachian, Virginia, specializing in rescue operations for families who become stranded in remote mountain hollows, where I've learned that some valleys contain communities that will trap visiting families through isolation tactics that prevent escape from mountain territories. I've been coordinating mountain rescue for 13 years throughout Virginia's most remote Appalachian regions, managing emergency response for families who experience medical emergencies, vehicle breakdowns, and survival situations in mountain hollows, where help can be days away through challenging terrain. This happened last November, while investigating missing family reports in the Lost Creek Hollow area near the West Virginia border, where families seeking rural mountain experiences were disappearing into remote communities that seemed designed to prevent visitors from returning to outside civilization. Lost Creek Hollow represents some of Virginia's most isolated mountain communities, accessible only through narrow dirt roads that wind through steep terrain where seasonal weather can make evacuation extremely difficult even under normal circumstances. The missing family incidents began with the Patterson family from Norfolk, who had been visiting Lost Creek Hollow to research Appalachian genealogy, but had failed to return from their planned 3-day mountain cultural exploration trip. The Pattersons were experienced travelers with reliable vehicles and communication equipment who understood mountain safety protocols, but they had simply vanished into hollow communities, despite detailed travel plans and scheduled contact procedures. Search operations for the Patterson family revealed their vehicle abandoned at the entrance to Lost Creek Hollow, but comprehensive ground searches found no trace of the family or any evidence of their activities after entering the remote mountain community area. 6 weeks later, the Rodriguez family from Virginia Beach disappeared under similar circumstances while visiting mountain communities for educational tourism, leaving behind their vehicle but no evidence of where they had traveled within the isolated hollow settlements. By December, 4 families had disappeared in Lost Creek Hollow, despite careful trip planning and safety precautions that should have prevented serious problems during short-term visits to mountain communities for cultural and genealogical research. Investigation into hollow community structure revealed settlement patterns that seemed designed to confuse visitors and prevent easy navigation back to main road access points, creating maze-like community layouts that could trap unfamiliar families. Most concerning were reports from other families who had successfully visited Lost Creek Hollow, but who described community behavior that seemed designed to encourage extended stays and discourage departure from mountain hollow settlements. Visiting families reported being invited to community meals, cultural demonstrations, and social activities that extended their planned visit duration, while creating emotional attachments that made departure from mountain communities more difficult. Around January, while conducting undercover investigation of Lost Creek Hollow community activities, I began experiencing isolation tactics that confirmed visiting families were being systematically trapped through social manipulation and territorial control methods. Community members demonstrated sophisticated understanding of visitor psychology and used specific social techniques designed to create dependency relationships that would prevent families from leaving mountain hollow settlements. The isolation tactics included providing essential services and emotional support that created obligations and attachments, while gradually eliminating opportunities for families to maintain contact with outside communities. Around February, I discovered that Lost Creek Hollow communities were practicing systematic visitor entrapment through coordinated social manipulation designed to prevent families from returning to outside civilization and to incorporate them into mountain hollow populations. Community members would identify visiting families with desired skills or characteristics and would implement recruitment strategies that use psychological manipulation and social pressure to encourage permanent settlement in mountain communities. Children in visiting families were particularly targeted for community integration through educational activities and social relationships that created emotional attachments strong enough to prevent family departure from mountain hollow settlements. Around March, the isolation tactics escalated when community members began using direct coercion and territorial control to prevent visiting families from leaving Lost Creek Hollow, despite their expressed desire to return to outside communities. Families attempting to depart would discover their vehicles disabled, their communication equipment confiscated, and their access to hollow exit routes blocked by community members, claiming various justifications for preventing departure. The territorial control demonstrated organized community coordination and systematic planning that exceeded normal mountain hospitality and represented deliberate visitor entrapment through isolation tactics and coercive community control. Around April, using emergency law enforcement coordination and specialized mountain rescue equipment, I successfully extracted several trapped families from Lost Creek Hollow communities despite community resistance to visitor departure. The extraction operations revealed that visiting families had been held against their will through combination of social manipulation, territorial control, and coercive community pressure designed to prevent departure from mountain hollow settlements. Families reported being subjected to systematic isolation from outside contact while being pressured to abandon their previous lives and accept permanent integration into mountain communities that viewed visitor entrapment as legitimate population recruitment. Investigation into Lost Creek Hollow community practices revealed similar visitor entrapment had been occurring throughout isolated Appalachian settlements for decades, with patterns of family disappearances that were attributed to mountain accidents rather than community kidnapping. Traditional knowledge from regional law enforcement included understanding that certain mountain communities practiced visitor entrapment as population management strategy and territorial control method that required specialized rescue operations. According to law enforcement experience, successful visitor extraction from entrapment communities required coordinated emergency response and legal intervention that exceeded normal missing persons investigation procedures. I continue coordinating mountain rescue because legitimate mountain communities provide important cultural preservation and rural economic opportunities. But I now include visitor entrapment awareness in mountain travel safety education and maintain enhanced rescue protocols for community isolation situations. Current mountain travel safety includes warnings about communities where visitor entrapment has been documented, enhanced communication protocols for families visiting remote hollows, and emergency extraction procedures for families experiencing coercive community control. Some mountain hollow communities in Appalachian, Virginia, practice systematic visitor entrapment through social manipulation and territorial control designed to prevent families from returning to outside civilization and to incorporate visiting families into mountain populations through coercive isolation tactics.